So this guy wins the lottery. Literally the dream scenario for every single person watching this video right now. And instead of buying a private island or a gold-plated Shark Tank, he does the one thing you are absolutely never supposed to do. He tells people. And I don't just mean he told his mom or his best friend. I mean he became the walking, talking definition of a target. This is the story of Craigory Burch Jr., a 20-year-old forklift driver who thought he had just punched his golden ticket to the good life. He thought he was escaping the grind. He thought he was setting his family up for generations. But what he didn't realize was that the second those numbers popped up on the screen, he had basically just painted a giant neon bullseye on his back. And 7 people, 7 human beings who knew him, who saw him around town, who probably smiled at him at the gas station, decided that his good fortune was actually their invitation to commit one of the most brutal, cowardly, and senseless crimes in modern history. We're talking about a home invasion that looks like it was planned by a committee of absolute psychopaths. We're talking about masked men, shotguns, and a level of greed that is so dark it genuinely makes you question the entire human species. So buckle up, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more stories that will make you never want to leave your house again, and let's talk about why winning the lottery might actually be the worst thing that could ever happen to you. Real quick, what would you do if you won $400,000 today? Would you tell everyone? Would you post it on Instagram? Or would you move to a bunker in Idaho and change your name to Steve? Let me know in the comments, because after this story, I promise you your answer is going to change. The golden ticket. Let's rewind to November 2015. The setting is Fitzgerald, Georgia. It's a small town, the kind of place where everybody knows everybody, and if you sneeze on the north side of town, someone on the south side says, "Bless you." Craigory Burch Jr. is just a regular dude. He's 20 years old, he's working as a forklift operator. It's honest work, it pays the bills, but it's not exactly the kind of job where you're browsing Zillow for mansions on your lunch break. He's grinding. He's got a girlfriend, Jasmine Hendricks, they've got kids, they're young, they're struggling a bit, but they're making it work. And like millions of other people, Craigory has a little ritual. He plays the lottery. Now, most people play the lottery and the only thing they win is a deep sense of regret and maybe a free ticket if they're lucky. But Craigory had a feeling. According to him, his right eye and hand had been jumping for 2 weeks. Now, I don't know if you're superstitious, but in a lot of cultures, that means money's coming. Or it means you need to see a neurologist. But in Craigory's case, he took it as a sign from the universe. He walks into a gas station, the H&R Food Mart on North Davis Drive in Warner Robins, and he buys a Fantasy 5 ticket. He picks his numbers, or maybe the machine picks, it doesn't matter. What matters is what happened next. He matches all 5 numbers. Boom, just like that. The jackpot? $434,272. Now, let's pause for a second. $434,000 isn't buy a private island money, it's not buy a senator money, but for a 20-year-old forklift driver in Fitzgerald, Georgia, that is life-changing money. That is, I don't have to worry about rent for the next decade money. That is, my kids are going to college money. Craigory is ecstatic. I mean, who wouldn't be? He's literally stunned. He tells the lottery officials, "I couldn't believe it. I was stunned. I'm still overwhelmed." And this is the moment where everything goes wrong. This is the moment where the universe offered him a choice: stay quiet, take the money and disappear, or celebrate. And Craigory, being a 20-year-old guy who just had the best day of his entire life, chose to celebrate. He posed for a photo. You've probably seen these photos. The Lottery Commission loves them. They give you one of those giant novelty checks, which, by the way, you can't actually cash, I tried, and they take a picture of you smiling like a maniac. In the photo, Craigory is holding the check. He's wearing a gray hoodie, a beanie, and he's holding up a finger like number 1.
He looks happy. He looks proud. He looks like a guy who just won the game of life. That photo was published. It went online. It was shared. And just like that, every single person in Fitzgerald, Georgia knew that Craigory Burch Jr. was holding nearly $500,000. The flex. Now, here's the thing about small towns. When you're broke, nobody cares. When you're struggling, people might offer thoughts and prayers. But when you win, when you suddenly have something that everyone else wants, the vibe shifts. People start watching you. They start counting your money for you. They start looking at your new shoes and doing the math in their heads. Oh, Craigory's got new Jordans? Must be nice. But Craigory wasn't a selfish guy. By all accounts, he was actually a really good dude. He didn't just hoard the money. He didn't go out and buy a fleet of Lamborghinis. He used the money to buy Christmas presents for kids in the neighborhood. I'm serious. This guy went out, bought a bunch of gifts, and distributed them to people who didn't have much. He wanted to share the wealth. He wanted to be the guy who lifted everyone else up. He was spreading joy. But to some people, specifically to a group of people we're about to meet, this wasn't generosity. To them, this was flexing. This was showing off. Imagine being so twisted, so eaten up with jealousy and greed that you see a guy buying toys for poor kids and your reaction is, look at this guy thinking he's better than us. That is the level of toxicity we are dealing with here. Craigory also did something else with the money. He did the responsible thing. He bought a house. He moved his family out of their old place and into a new home on Stubbs Avenue in Fitzgerald. It was a fresh start, a place to raise his kids. He moved in around January 2016, just a couple of months after the win. He also bought a new truck, a Dodge Durango. Nice car, reliable, fits the family. He wasn't living like a rapper in a music video. He was living like a responsible dad who just got a lucky break. But the eyes were on him. The whispers were starting. Did you see Craigory's new truck? Did you see all those presents he bought? I heard he keeps the cash in the house. That last one, that's the killer. That is the rumor that gets people dead. Because in the minds of the criminals in Fitzgerald, Craigory Burch Jr. wasn't just a lottery winner. He was a walking ATM, and they decided it was time to make a withdrawal. The Clique. Let's talk about the people who were watching him. We aren't talking about one lone wolf burglar. We aren't talking about a couple of desperate junkies looking for a quick score. We are talking about a literal mob. 7 people. Do you have any idea how much coordination it takes to get 7 people to agree on a dinner spot, let alone a murder plot? This wasn't an impulse decision. This was a conspiracy. Let me introduce you to the lineup of absolute failures who decided to ruin their lives and end Craigory's. First, you've got DeBrentis Overstreet. He's 19 years old. Remember that name because he's arguably the worst of the bunch. He's the ringleader. He's the shooter. He's the guy who looked at Craigory's generosity and took it personally. Then there's Rosalind Swain, 22, Kiana Dios, 24, and Javel Johnson, 21, Ernest Holcomb, 27, Nathaniel Baker, 28, and Wayon Jordan, 17. It's a mix of men and women, ranging from teenagers to adults pushing 30. They were allegedly part of a gang called G-Shine.
Now, I don't know if you're familiar with G-Shine, but they are a set of the Bloods. They aren't a knitting circle. These are people who pride themselves on violence, on status, and on taking what they want. And according to court documents and testimony later on, these guys were sitting around, stewing in their own mediocrity, watching Craigory live his life. They didn't like it. Prosecutors would later say that the group did not appreciate that Burch had bought gifts for the children in the neighborhood, and stated that they wanted to rob Burch because he was flexing and showing off by handing out the gifts. Can we just pause on that logic for a second? He bought toys for kids, so let's kill him. That is the thought process we are dealing with. It is so backwards, so morally bankrupt that it's hard to even comprehend. But that's the thing about envy. It rots your brain. It turns kindness into an insult. They convinced themselves that Craigory was disrespecting them by simply existing and having money. And so, a plan was formed. They weren't just going to rob him, they were going to invade his home. They were going to terrify him, and they were going to take everything. The setup. It's January 20, 2016. Craigory has been in his new house on Stubbs Avenue for maybe a couple of weeks. He's probably still unpacking boxes. He's probably still figuring out which light switch controls which fan. The group gathers. It's like a twisted version of Ocean's 11, except everyone is stupid and evil. DeBrentis Overstreet, the 19-year-old wannabe boss, is calling the shots. He's complaining that he's broke, he's got no money, and he looks at his crew and basically says, "We need to hit Craigory." The plan is simple. Go to the house, kick in the door, guns in faces, get the money, leave. But they need to be careful. They know Craigory is a big guy. He's a forklift operator. He's not frail. They need overwhelming force. So they decide to send in a team. DeBrentis Overstreet, Baker, and Jordan. 3 men, 3 guns. The others, they are the support team, the drivers, the lookouts. Rosalind Swain and Kiana Dios, the women, are the getaway drivers. They are the ones who are supposed to whisk the shooters away once the deed is done. Imagine being one of these women. You're sitting in the car, waiting for your friends to go commit a violent home invasion, and you're just cool with it? You're just checking your phone, listening to the radio, waiting for the screaming to start? It's chilling. They drive over to the neighborhood, but they don't go straight to the house. They scout. They lurk. They are predators circling a campfire. Craigory is inside. He's oblivious. He's with his girlfriend, Jasmine. They have their kids with them. It's a Wednesday night, a normal, boring Wednesday night. They are probably watching TV, maybe making dinner, maybe playing with the kids. Craigory is holding his 2-year-old son on his lap. Just picture that image. A father sitting on his couch holding his toddler. That is the definition of safety. That is the definition of peace. But outside, in the dark, the monsters are getting ready. The masks. The 3 attackers, Overstreet, Baker, and Jordan, start gearing up. This isn't a spur-of-the-moment thing. They came prepared. They have ski masks. They have white t-shirts that they tie around their faces to obscure their identities even more. They want to look like nightmares. They want to look like faceless demons. And they are armed. Overstreet has a Tech 9. If you know anything about guns, a Tech 9 is not a hunting rifle. It's not for self-defense. It's a weapon designed to look scary and spray bullets. It's a street sweeper. Nathaniel Baker has a 9mm pistol. Wayan Jordan, the 17-year-old, has a gun too. They are loaded for bear. They are ready for war, and their target is a family watching TV. The drivers, Swain and Holcomb, who was also driving or waiting, park the cars down the street or around the corner. They turn the lights off. They wait. The 3 gunmen creep up to the house. It's late. The street is quiet. Can you imagine the adrenaline, the sheer malice pumping through their veins? They aren't nervous about hurting people. They are nervous about not getting the money. They approach the door. This is the barrier. This is the thin piece of wood and metal that separates the safety of Craigory's home from the violence of the street. Most people think their front door is a shield. They lock the deadbolt and think, "I'm safe." But a deadbolt only keeps out honest people. It doesn't keep out a Tech 9. The breach. It's just before midnight. Inside, the house is calm. The TV is flickering. The kids are sleepy. Suddenly, boom! A shotgun blast destroys the front door. I'm not talking about a kick. I'm not talking about a lockpick. I'm talking about them literally blasting the door off its hinges with a shotgun. The sound alone must have been deafening. Imagine sitting in your living room and suddenly your front door explodes. Splinters flying, smoke, the smell of gunpowder instantly filling the room. And through the smoke, 3 men step in. They are masked, they are screaming, they are pointing guns. Where the money at? Where it at? Chaos, absolute chaos. Jasmine screams, the kids start crying. Craigory is still on the couch. He's still clutching his 2-year-old son. His instinct isn't to fight, it's to protect the baby. He freezes, pulling the child close, trying to shield him with his own body. The 3 men fan out. They take over the room.
Overstreet, the leader, the one with the Tech 9, is right in Craigory's face. "Give it up! Give us the money!" Jasmine is terrified. She later told police that the men were frantic, they were aggressive. They weren't just asking, they were threatening to kill everyone in the room. One of them grabs Jasmine. He holds her at gunpoint. He demands her purse. He demands her phone. Wayne Jordan, the teenager, starts rifling through things. He's tearing the house apart. He grabs Jasmine's wallet. He grabs cell phones. But they don't want cell phones. They don't want $200 from a purse. They want the lottery money. They are convinced that Craigory has $500,000 in cash sitting under a mattress or in a safe, because they're idiots. They don't understand how banks work. They don't understand that nobody keeps $500,000 in a shoebox. Where is it? Craigory is terrified, not for himself, but for his family. He sees the guns waving around. He sees his girlfriend crying. He feels his 2-year-old son trembling in his arms. He tries to reason with them. "Don't do it, bro. Don't do it in front of my kids." This is a man begging for his life, but more importantly, begging for his children's innocence. He doesn't want his kids to see their father die. He doesn't want them to be scarred for life. "Please don't do it in front of my kids and old lady. Please don't do that, bro. Please." He's desperate. He's bargaining. He rips off his pants. Yeah, you heard me. He wasn't trying to fight them. He was trying to give them everything he had on his person. He was wearing jeans. His wallet was in the pocket. His bank card was in the pocket. He throws his pants at them.
"Take it. Take my wallet. Take the bank card. Just leave us alone." He's literally stripping himself bare, giving them every cent he has access to just to get them out of his house. This is the moment where a normal robber takes the wallet and runs. A normal criminal sees that there is no pile of cash, realizes the heat is too hot, and bolts. But DeBrentis Overstreet isn't a normal robber. He's a monster with a bruised ego and a Tech 9. He looks at the pants, he looks at the wallet. It's not enough. It's not the jackpot. And in his twisted, steroid rage-like mind, even though he wasn't on steroids, just high on evil, he decides that if he can't have the fortune, nobody can. He raises the gun, he points it right at Craigory, right at the man holding a toddler. Jasmine is screaming, "No!" The kids are wailing, and Overstreet pulls the trigger. Bang! He shoots Craigory in the leg. It's a warning shot? A torture shot? Who knows? But he shoots him in the knee. Craigory screams in agony. He collapses back onto the couch, still trying to hold on to his son. The pain is blinding. "I don't have it. I don't have the money here." Craigory is sobbing now. He's bleeding. The situation has gone from robbery to attempted murder in a split second. The other gunmen are getting nervous. This is getting messy. The noise is too loud. The neighbors might hear. But Overstreet isn't done. He's angry. He feels cheated. He feels like Craigory is holding on to him. "You think I'm playing?" He shoots him in the other leg. Bang! Now Craigory is shot in both legs. He is effectively crippled. He can't run. He can't fight. He is a sitting duck. The attackers look around. They realize there is no giant pile of cash. The intel they had was wrong. There is no Scrooge McDuck vault in the back red room. They panic. "Let's go, let's go." Jordan grabs the phones. Baker is already heading for the door. They turn to leave. They run out the front door, leaving Craigory bleeding on the couch, his family screaming in terror. Jasmine thinks it's over. She thinks they survived. She thinks, "Oh God, we need to call an ambulance," but they're gone. She rushes to Craigory. "Stay with me, stay with me." But outside, something happens. Something that turns this from a tragedy into a horror movie. The gunmen run to the driveway. They see Craigory's new truck, the Dodge Durango. "Take the truck, let's take the truck." They try to open the door. They try to start it, but maybe they don't have the keys. Maybe the panic is making them fumble. They can't get the truck to start. Or maybe they just see the lights come on. Jasmine sees the lights of the truck flash outside. She sees the silhouette of the men standing there. And then one of them turns back.
DeBrentis Overstreet. He's not satisfied. He didn't get the money. He didn't get the truck. All he got was a pair of pants and a cheap wallet. He's furious. He walks back to the front door. He steps back inside the house. Jasmine looks up and sees him standing there in the doorway, the same nightmare returning for part 2. He doesn't say a word this time. He doesn't ask for money. He just looks at Craigory, who is bleeding out on the couch, surrounded by his terrified children, and he raises the Tech-9 one last time. This isn't about robbery anymore. This is about execution. The noise is deafening. If you've never heard a gun go off inside a small room, consider yourself lucky. It isn't like the movies where it's a crisp pop. It is a concussive boom that rattles your teeth and punches you in the chest. DeBrentis Overstreet pulls the trigger of that Tech-9. Bang, bang, bang. He doesn't just shoot once, he unloads. He fires multiple rounds into Craigory Burch Jr., the man who was already bleeding, already crippled, and already begging for his family's safety. He is hit 7 times, 7 bullets for 7 cowards, and he is holding his son the entire time. Jasmine watches in absolute horror as the father of her children is executed right in front of her eyes. The 2-year-old is screaming, covered in his father's blood, but miraculously, physically unharmed. Craigory, in his final moments, used his own body as a human shield. He took every single bullet that could have hit that child. He dies a hero, but he dies. Overstreet stands there for a second, looking at the devastation he just caused. The smoke is filling the room. The smell of copper and gunpowder is overwhelming. And then, just as quickly as he came back in, he turns and runs. He sprints out to the waiting car. He jumps in. Go, go, go! The tires screech, the engines roar, the 2 cars filled with 7 people who just forfeited their souls for absolutely nothing speed away into the Georgia night. Inside the house, the silence that follows is heavier than the noise. Jasmine is scrambling. She's checking Craigory. She's checking the baby. She's checking the other children. Craigory! Craigory! But he's gone. The man who won the lottery in November is dead in January. 2 months, that's all he got. 2 months of hope, followed by a violent, senseless end. She grabs the phone. Her hands are shaking so bad she can barely dial. 911. Please, send help. They shot him. They shot him. The manhunt. The police arrive within minutes. Sirens cut through the quiet neighborhood of Fitzgerald. Blue lights flash against the houses where neighbors are peeking out through blinds, wondering what the hell just happened. The officers rush in. They see the broken door. They see the blood. They see the grieving family. It's a scene that would haunt even the most hardened detective. But once the initial shock wears off, the police switch into hunting mode. This wasn't a random burglary. Random burglars don't usually execute people with Tech-9s. This was personal. This was targeted. They start interviewing Jasmine. Through her tears, through the trauma, she gives them everything she can. She tells them about the masks. She tells them about the demands for money. She tells them about the sheer aggression. But the police need a lead. They need a thread to pull. And the criminals, in their infinite stupidity, gave them a rope. Remember those pants? The ones Craigory threw at them? The ones with the wallet? Well, the geniuses took the wallet. Now, if you just murdered a man in a high-profile home invasion, the smart thing to do, if there is a smart way to be a murderer, is to burn everything. Burn the clothes, burn the wallet, melt the gun, and move to Alaska. But these guys? They wanted to get paid. They didn't do this for the thrill, they did it for the money, and they were pissed that they didn't find the $400,000 cash stash. So they decided to use what they found, Craigory's debit card. I want you to really think about the level of cognitive function required to use the credit card of a man you just murdered in the same town you murdered him less than 24 hours after the crime. It is staggering. It is a level of stupidity that should be studied by scientists. Within hours, there are hits on the card. They're trying to buy gas. They're trying to buy snacks. They're trying to get cash back. Every time they swipe that card, they're basically sending a GPS coordinate to the police that says, "Here we are the ones who did it." The police track the activity. They pull surveillance footage from the stores. And guess what they see? They don't see ninjas. They don't see criminal masterminds. They see the suspects. And because Fitzgerald is a small town, people start talking. You know how I said earlier that everyone knows everyone? Well, that works both ways. When you flex your lottery win, everyone knows. But when you brag about a lick you just hit, everyone knows that too.
The G-Shine gang members couldn't keep their mouths shut. They were bragging. They were talking about how they hit the lottery, boy. Tips start rolling in. The GBI, Georgia Bureau of Investigation, gets involved. The Ben Hill County Sheriff's Office is on it. And one by one, the dominoes start to fall. The roundup. It took about 2 months to get everyone, but the net tightened fast. First, they identify Rosalind Swain. She's the 22-year-old getaway driver. They pick her up. Now, here's a pro tip for anyone thinking of joining a criminal enterprise. There is no honor among thieves. The second those handcuffs click, loyalty goes out the window and self-preservation enters the chat. They interrogate her, and I'm guessing it didn't take long for the story to spill. She gives up names. Next comes Kiana Dias, the 24-year-old. She's arrested in Orlando, Florida. She tried to run, but you can't run from a murder warrant when you're this sloppy. Then Njavel Johnson. Then Ernest Holcomb. They are picking them off like flies. And finally, they get the shooters, Nathaniel Baker, Wyan Jordan, and the ringleader, DeBrentis Overstreet. When the police announce the arrests, the community is in shock, not because they didn't think it was possible, but because of how many people were involved. 7 people, 7 young lives completely thrown away. And for what? They didn't get the $434,000. They didn't get the truck. Do you know what they actually got? They got a few $100s from his wallet. That's it. They killed a father of 3, a man who bought toys for the neighborhood kids, a man who is just trying to live a good life, for a few $100 split 7 ways. That's like $50 a person. They sold their freedom, their futures, and their souls for the price of a tank of gas and a pack of cigarettes. It is pathetic. It is infuriating. Be honest, does hearing that make you angry? Does knowing they killed him for basically nothing and make it worse than if they had actually gotten the $500,000? Tell me in the comments, because personally, the senselessness of it makes my blood boil. The motive. As the details of the investigation came out, the why became even more disturbing than the how. It wasn't just about the money, it was about the audacity of Craigory Burch Jr. to have money. Prosecutors revealed that the group had been watching him for a while. They saw him buying things. They saw him moving into the new house, and they hated him for it. They felt entitled to his winnings. There is a sickness in some people where they see someone else's success not as an inspiration, but as a personal attack. They see someone rise up, and their first instinct is to drag them back down. Crabs in a bucket. Overstreet specifically seemed driven by this toxic jealousy. He was the one who decided that robbing him wasn't enough. He was the one who went back in. Why? Because he felt disrespected. He felt disrespected that Craigory didn't have the cash ready for him. He felt disrespected that the easy score turned out to be hard. He felt disrespected that he was leaving empty-handed. So he took a life to settle the score. It's the ultimate act of a weak man, a man who cannot build anything, so he destroys what others have built. The courtroom.
The legal process for a 7-person murder trial is a nightmare. It takes years. There are motions, hearings, plea deals, finger-pointing. The prosecutors, District Attorney Brad Rigby and his team, were not playing games. They announced early on that they were seeking the death penalty for the shooters. They wanted DeBrentis Overstreet to sit in the electric chair, or a lethal injection, as is the method now. And frankly, it's hard to argue against it. He executed a man in front of his children. But the wheels of justice are slow, and they are also pragmatic. The defense attorneys knew their clients were cooked. There was physical evidence, there were confessions, there were eyewitness accounts, there was the credit card trail. So they started cutting deals. One by one, the conspirators started pleading guilty to avoid the death penalty or life without parole. Wyan Jordan, the teenager, he was 17 at the time, pleaded guilty. He got 20 years. Nathaniel Baker, one of the gunmen, pleaded guilty, life in prison. Rosalind Swain, life in prison. Kiana Dias, 20 years. Ernest Holcomb, life in prison. And Javel Johnson, 20 years. But the big fish, the man who pulled the trigger, DeBrentis Overstreet dragged it out. He waited until the last possible second. The trial was looming. The jury selection was coming up. The DA was sharpening his knives, ready to send this kid to death row. And in 2018, Overstreet folded. He pled guilty to malice murder, home invasion, armed robbery, aggravated assault, and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. He stood in that courtroom, wearing his orange jumpsuit, looking a lot smaller than he did when he was holding a Tech 9. He admitted to everything. He admitted to breaking in. He admitted to terrorizing the family. He admitted to shooting Craigory in the legs. And he admitted to going back in and finishing the job. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus another life sentence, plus 160 years. Basically, the judge told him, you are never, ever, ever breathing free air. You are going to die in a concrete box. And you know what? Good. Real quick, hit subscribe if you believe justice was served here, or comment if you think he got off easy by avoiding the death penalty. I want to know where you stand on this. The curse of the lottery. This story brings up a conversation that we need to have, the lottery curse. We always hear about lottery winners going broke. We hear about them buying tigers and cocaine and blowing it all in 5 years. But the darker side of the curse is what happened to Craigory Burch Jr. It's the target you paint on your back. There is a statistic that is absolutely terrifying. Lottery winners are significantly more likely to be murdered than the average person. Think about Abraham Shakespeare. He won $30 million in Florida. He was murdered by a woman who befriended him just to steal his money. She buried him under a concrete slab. Think about Jeffrey Dampier. He won $20 million. He was kidnapped and murdered by his own sister-in-law and her boyfriend. Think about Uruz Khan. He won $1 million. He died the day after he collected the check. Cyanide poisoning. Craigory Burch Jr. is on that list. And the tragedy is that he did everything right in terms of his heart. He wasn't selfish. He wasn't flashy in a bad way. He was generous. But his mistake was transparency.